Hi, this is Arjun. Thank you so much for joining this channel. Thank you so much for watching this video. In this video, we will be understanding what is the auditing guidance for control number 5.2, right? So this is 5.2 information security roles and responsibilities for as per the 7002. Okay. So let us see now what are the auditing guidelines. So for auditing this control, basically these are all the checks that you need to check as an auditor, right? So you need to keep this checklist in your mind, or you can note down from this video also. So the first thing that you need to check is have all information security roles and responsibilities being clearly defined, documented, and communicated to all the relevant persons. So by this, what do you mean is there any roles and responsibility which is missed, or have the implementer actually documented each and every roles and responsibility properly? This is what you need to check in this control, right? And in the next control, what you need to check is are information security roles aligned with the organization policies, objectives, and regulatory requirements. For example, if a regulatory requirement is asking the organization to have a DPO a role, so whether that DPO role is available or not, okay, you need to check that. After that, you will see that our roles and responsibilities documented in the job description, contracts, or organizational charts. So whether the roles that you have documented are basically also present in all the contracts which are there in the organization and in the organizational charts as well. And there should be no discrepancy here. And then you need to check is there a process for assigning ownership of information assets, risk, and control implementation. Okay, you need to check that. Okay. And then you need to check are risk owners assigned for identifying risks, and are they accountable for mitigation and acceptance of the residual risk. So risk owners are normally the head of departments who are basically responsible for mitigation and acceptance of the residual risk. Okay, so that's why you need to assign any for any risk you need to assign the appropriate risk owner. So you need to check whether it's happening or not. Okay. Then you need to check our responsibilities for designing, implementing, and monitoring security controls to formally assign to specific roles. For example, who will be designing the controls, who will be implementing the controls, who will be monitoring the security controls. All these responsibilities should be assigned to individual roles, right? You need to check whether this is happening or not. Then you need to check our roles and responsibilities periodically reviewed and updated to reflect the organizational changes or new regulatory requirements, right? For example, if there is a new regulatory requirement, so whether with that perspective, whether you have created a new role or not in your organization, right? And after that, you need to check are all personnel aware of their assigned roles and responsibilities, and is there evidence of training or orientation sessions, right? So whether they are completely sure about, for example, if I have been assigned a role as a system administrator, so do I know my role as a system administrator, or do I need a training for making sure that I understand that what all controls fall into my roles, right? For that, you might have to conduct training sessions as well. Okay. Then after that, you need to check, it's a process to ensure accountability for delegated tasks and are outcomes tracked and reviewed. Okay. You need to make sure that somebody, some of the other roles have to be accountable for any task, right? And the outcomes are also tracked and reviewed by the senior management, right? Right, and it has to be done. You need to have evidence of this also. Okay. Our authorization levels for personnel clearly defined, documented, and accurately reviewed. There needs to be different authorization levels for different secret, top secret, things like that. So you need to make sure that these confidentiality levels, authorization levels are defined for people. Then after that, you need to make sure that there are mechanisms to identify and address conflicting responsibilities. For example, if somebody is in finance in accounting department and that person is actually booking the invoices, creating the invoices, and actually paying the payment as well. If he or she is performing all these tasks, that means that it's a conflicting responsibility. There should be segregation of duties here because this can be a big issue in terms of conflicting responsibilities. So we need to make sure it is not happening, right? Similarly, the backup admin who is taking the backup should not be restoring it. Okay, somebody else should be restoring it so that they know whether the process is working or not. Okay, that's why segregation of duties is important, right? So after that, you need to check are individuals assigned to security roles provided with adequate resources, tools, and training to fulfill their duties, right? So definitely you need to check whether the people who are working have the necessary information or not by performing their day-to-day activities, right? Then after that, you need to check are responsibilities for managing security incidents clearly defined and assigned to specific goals or teams. This is very important because you need to make sure who is responsible for managing security incidents in the organization, right? Normally, organizations would have a SOC team, but not all of the organizations would have a SOC team. So in that case, the security manager or the IT manager would be responsible, right? So we need to allocate a role here. Okay. Then after that, you need to make sure our external parties, contacts, vendors given clear guidance on the information security responsibilities. For example, if there is a third party vendor that you have, okay, whether you have checked their, information security responsibilities while they are entering your network. What all responsibilities do they need to adhere to, okay? Are there access controls in place, okay? All these things you need to check, okay? Then you need to check our roles and responsibilities included as part of onboarding process for new hires, contractors, and vendors. Okay, so roles and responsibilities should be actually there. Whenever you have any new hire, whenever you have any contractors, whenever you have any vendors, you need to have a roles and responsibilities clearly defined. Okay, so that there is no confusion later on who is doing what, right? And after that, you need to make sure that there are definite escalation paths also defined for roles to report incident risks or policy violations to higher authorities, right? And then after that, you need to define the roles and responsibilities integrated into the organization risk management framework. Okay? This is very important because here you need to understand who is responsible for what. Only then you can assign the respective risk to that particular risk owner, right? Then after that, you need to understand responsibilities for third-party risk management defined, and do they include contextual compliance requirements as well? Okay, so responsibility for third-party risk management should be defined as well, and they should include contextual compliance requirements as well. There should be proper contracts laid out with the third parties in terms of what is their roles and responsibility, what is your roles and responsibility, right? After that, you have is there evidence of management oversight, ensuring that all assigned roles and responsibilities are implemented, right? So management should also be reviewing this, whether all the roles and responsibilities are implemented or not. You need to be getting an evidence of this as well, maybe adding it in the management review meeting or documented in any other way, right? But make sure you get an evidence of this. So then our responsibilities for monitoring compliance with policies and procedures clearly defined and tracked. Basically, whoever is monitoring the compliance, okay, with policies and procedures, he or she should also be clearly defined who is that person who is monitoring the compliance side. And if there are any processes for addressing violation of non-compliance with assigned responsibilities, they should be documented, right? For example, if somebody is not following their roles and responsibilities, these violations should be tracked, right? After that, regular audits or reviews to evaluate the effectiveness of roles and responsibilities should be conducted so that you know whether the roles and responsibilities are working as defined or not. See, your roles and responsibilities is a very important factor for information security to happen, right? Because if people are not following roles and responsibilities, there is no clear segregation of duties, then you will always have incidents here and there, okay? And you'll not be able to control them. So that's why this control is very important, okay? And then you have are there documented procedures for escalating and resolving disputes or unclear or conflicting responsibilities, okay? You need to have documented procedures for resolving disputes if somebody is performing somebody else's work, right? And then our personnel provided with ongoing training and awareness programs towards understanding of their responsibilities. So definitely you need security awareness trainings there in order to make sure that everybody follows their own roles and responsibilities within their boundaries. Okay, that is one thing you need to do. And after that, you need to make sure that if there are any lessons learned from incidents or audits, they need to be used to update the roles and responsibilities accordingly. For example, if there has been an incident, okay, with somebody who is performing some task and that was not done properly, so you need to maybe take on that responsibility from that person and assign it to any other person, right? So lessons learned will be very important here. Okay? Then after that, you need to make sure our rules defined to ensure continuity of security operations during personal changes or absences, right? So here it is talking about succession planning. For example, if somebody is not available or if there is some change in the person, do you have succession planning in place so that there is no disruption of the security operations and the security operations are continued, right? And after that, it talks about the evidence of collaboration between departments or teams to align the roles and responsibilities across the organization. Evidence of this as well, right? And the last one is roles assigned for ensuring compliance with legal, regulatory, and contractual obligations related to information security. Okay. What we mean by this is, are there any roles which are assigned for ensuring compliance with the legal, regulatory, and contractual obligations related to information security? For example, is there a DPO role which has been assigned to take care of GDPR with the supervisory authorities? Okay, things like that. So, any questions in this video, whatever I have discussed, feel free to ask in the comment section. And definitely, I'll be creating this auditing of all the controls now, one by one. So, if you like this video, if you want to motivate me, please add some comments. If you like this video, and please share this video with your friends so that I can keep on, creating this content. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care. Bye bye.